The Disability Rights Commission believes that disabled and older people should have the right to independent living. This means that they should get help to live in their own homes if they want. But did you know that many people are entitled to equipment from the NHS to improve their quality of life? In this programme, we speak to Chris Shaw, Chief Executive of the Disabled Living Foundation. The DLF is a national charity that provides free, impartial advice about all types of disability aids for adults and children with disabilities, older people, their carers and families. We also hear from leading independent living innovators, Maximayo Limited, PDS Hygiene, Special Orthotic Services and Tomcat SNI, who talk about their innovations designed to assist with living independently. The government and the NHS must take effective and appropriate measures to facilitate people with disabilities and the elderly to fully enjoy the right to live in the community with choices equal to others.
The Disabled Living Foundation is a national charity. We've been established 40 years now, so we have a long track record in providing expert advice and independent, impartial information on all aspects of independent living. That's throughout the UK. And we have a specialist area in providing information and advice about equipment, daily living equipment that can help people to stay safely and well at home and independently, if that's the way they choose to live. We're very supportive of all the current government moves towards increasing choice and independence for older people and those with disabilities, and the whole idea of personalisation and that people can tailor the services that might be on offer, and to some extent they can fund them themselves through individual budgets and things of that kind. So we're, as a charity, we're really interested in supporting people to exercise choice, to maintain independence, to achieve the things they want to achieve with their lives, whether they're a person with disability or an older person. We really are entering a time now where there's going to be certainly a multiplicity of people working with and supporting older and disabled people. And I think the innovation in the sector is crucial, certainly within, for example, equipment for older and disabled people. There's a lot of innovation happening there. We're moving well away from the time when there was really no choice. You got what you're given, basically. There was a limited range of what would be available to you. And there are lots of inventors and manufacturers and suppliers and people now looking at ways to make the lives of older and disabled people easier and simpler and more straightforward. So I think innovation is very key thing.
Maximayo actually started when we made a cosmetic piece of equipment that was to be used cosmetically, in other words, to make ladies thin and attractive. And it worked very well indeed. In fact, we've now sold them all over the world. And then we decided we were going to make a medical machine. And you can't put a piece of equipment like this on the market until it's been properly tested and approved. And we have now all the necessary approvals. To the best of our knowledge, we're the only machine, a muscle activator in the world that has got these medical approvals.
EMS stands for electromuscular stimulation. And what it does is it allows muscle that may, for some reason, not be able to exercise itself to be electrically stimulated so that the muscle contracts, and if the muscle contracts, then it'll strengthen. Well, there are really three main categories, plus, if you like, an assorted group after that. The first category, as I mentioned before, are things like sports injuries to knees, sports injuries to shoulders, sports injuries to hips, and so on. The second category are patients, people, clients with lower back pain, and it's shown to be extremely effective. The Maximayo has been extremely effective in treating spasm, in treating pain, and allowing people to strengthen their posture and their back muscles. The third important category, and I know you're going to hear about this later on in the programme, is a category of elderly ladies, principally elderly ladies, who suffer from urinary incontinence. And the Maximayo allows them to strengthen their pelvic floor and therefore cure, in many cases cure, their incontinence. The fourth group of patients who might benefit are an assortment of a wide variety of conditions which we at Maximayo are still learning about. They include things like patients who have been refused hip replacement because the orthopedic surgeon has viewed that their musculature is too weak to benefit from a hip replacement, and after a course of treatment with Maximayo, we can strengthen their hip muscles so they will actually be able to benefit from hip replacement and walk. Other patients within that category are also people who suffer from swelling of their arm, a so-called condition called lymphedema, which may either come from breast cancer, the treatment of breast cancer, radiotherapy, or the actual condition itself. It can be a very distressing condition, and we're currently conducting trials to see whether the Maximayo can actually squeeze the fluid out of the arm and make it comfortable. And really there are another variety of other conditions which we're still learning about, and we're anxious to hear from you to tell us what it can be used for as well.
The benefits for the therapist is that the treatment times are reduced. It is reduced in two ways. First of all, they're only half-hour treatment sessions, which means that she can see more patients during the day. Secondly, from the perspective of the course of treatments, this is also reduced in half. For the client, this is of benefit because they're spending less time at the hospital. They've got more time to do other things in their daily lives. And this also means they're back to work quicker, which can also mean the benefits to the economy as a whole.
We use the nerve conductivity, not just stimulating the muscles directly. And I had a thought at that point as to whether by using nerve supplies we could stimulate the muscles of the pelvic floor without having to touch them directly with internal probes. The reason I was interested was because NICE had just issued their new guidance, and it mentions that there's about 1.5 million women affected by urinary incontinence in this country, and the cost to themselves and the NHS is estimated at about £700 million a year, £600 per individual client suffering. That does include the cost to themselves.
With the Maximayo, it means people with this sort of injury can very easily be treated, and they are treated much faster than they would with conventional medicine. And the result of that is they can get back to work quicker, which is obviously an advantage to the NHS, and it's an advantage to them and to everybody else around them.
We're going to have a much older population. As people get older, we know, obviously, they become a bit frailer usually, and so there'll be levels of disability in a much older population, alongside less younger people to provide the care, the family and social care for them. So this is a huge challenge, and this is why innovation in the sector is so important.
PDS Hygiene is part of the engineering consultancy Precision Design Services Limited. We are the exclusive distributors of the BioBidet products in the UK. A few years ago, we took an interest in the electronic bidet toilet seats that were developed for the Japanese luxury market and had since moved into the mainstream. They are used by 80% of the population in Japan, and you can find them in almost all public buildings. We decided to introduce these bidet seats into the UK, but discovered that none of the models in production conformed with the UK regulations for backflow prevention that were set by RAS, or Water Regulations Advisory Scheme. In 2005, after extensive market evaluation and product evaluation, we decided to work with BioBidet to design and develop a product that would not only conform with these regulations, but also be a cost-effective and inexpensive product compared to the ones on the market, and they were purpose-built. In December 2006, we obtained the RAS approval, and to date, BioBidet is the only electronic bidet toilet seat that complies with regulations in the UK. At a fraction of a price of a purpose-built shower toilet, it can be fitted within hours and as a result, we can offer the government and the NHS a speedy and a cost-effective contribution in their efforts to help people in need of care to live at home and with dignity.
Hand washing is a part of our daily bathroom routine, so it's only logical that intimate washing should become part of this routine too. The facts are simple. With the bio-bidet, you can have a comfortable, effective, hygienic wash and cleanse without the use of paper. The bio-bidet provides a clean stream of water, and then you can have a blow dry. This makes period times for women a far more pleasant experience. With the bio-bidet, you can get up feeling cleansed and refreshed. Wet wipes, which were introduced to clean babies, cannot always be flushed down the toilet and are often said to be harmful to the environment.
It has a spray which extends from the rear of the toilet seat to the required position and directs a stream of aerated warm water in the right direction, and for approximately a minute. The temperature and pressure of the water can be controlled by a touch button on the control panel, and after a minute, or when stopped previously, the spray stops and retracts back into the toilet seat, allowing the air drying cycle to be started. Each cycle is operated by a touch button on the control panel, and so each user can set the control panel, can set the temperature, pressure and so on to their own personal positions, their own personal preferences. The health benefits of the bio-bidet are significant improvement in personal hygiene, thorough cleansing where, due to a medical condition, the use of toilet paper could cause irritation, and help for the elderly, significant help for the elderly and less able in their unassisted use of the toilet. Connection of non-approved products is illegal because of the potential contamination of the water supply. The seat and lid are made from germ-resistant polymers, and all the main electronic components are protected by thick epoxy, which prevents the ingress of moisture, formation of rust and residue, which could cause short circuit. It has built-in thermostats to protect both the user and the seat against overheating, and there is built-in earthing to prevent against electrical shock. Government policy is to help people to remain at home with dignity and independence. For people suffering from limited mobility due to injury, illness, old age, the normal tasks of everyday life can be a major barrier to independence. In particular, it's difficult to retain your dignity if you're reliant on someone else to clean you after going to the toilet. Bio-bidet removes this major barrier to independence, and costing less than a quarter of the price of a purpose-built shower toilet, it allows government resources to be spread further.
I think the whole area of the private sector producing, whether it's seating or other equipment, to meet particular needs of disabled adults and children is crucial. I think for too long it's been seen as a kind of a small niche, and therefore if you're a commercial organisation, then maybe it's not profitable enough for you to get involved in this area. I think that whole picture is changing.
Specialised Orthotic Services is a business that I started 30 years ago. The objective of starting the business was to be able to provide a service to disabled people throughout the UK for the assessment of special seating equipment. The people that we see in the special seating clinics that we run are people who require a specific type of seating support to enable them to live a better quality of life. We provide seating services for over 50 wheelchair centres in the UK, and these seating clinics take place on a regular basis. People attending the clinics attend usually with their parents, relatives or carers, and the seating clinics are always usually carried out at a local wheelchair service. Special seating is a term that's applied to equipment provided through wheelchair services and it's intended for use by clients who require a high degree of postural support for their daily living. This equipment can vary dramatically in its appearance and its style, but the objective is usually always the same, in that you're really trying to provide a level of postural support to meet the clinical needs of the individual person. This equipment, when it's provided, can make a big difference to the actual way in which people live their daily lives by improving their overall postural comfort, their seating postural support, and also improving their basic mobility when using the equipment. Special seating equipment is a vital piece of equipment for people who require this degree of postural support. Their lives are dependent on it to some extent, and their daily living is basically enhanced by using such equipment. The range of equipment that we offer through Specialised Orthotic Services clinical services on special seating is very comprehensive and covers a wide range of disabilities and postural needs. Equipment like this also requires to be accessible for people living in the community, and people who live in the community are usually residing in specialised community care homes or with families or attending day centres and things like this, and people who require this type of postural support also need to access the equipment for use during their time at home. SOS are now being able to offer a service to people living in residential homes or in the home environment for the assessment of specialised equipment for use in the home. It's very important for a lot of people with the profound disability and the need for special seating to maintain this postural management once they arrive home and continue their sort of daily living needs. So SOS are able to offer a range of very supportive equipment for use in the home environment to deal with daily tasks such as feeding, toileting and basic postural support and comfort. Obviously, equipment of this nature needs to be safe for people to use, and it's very, very important therefore that this equipment meets all the regulatory requirements that apply to it. For specialised seating, one of the most important regulatory requirements is that equipment is suitable for transportation. There's not much use in providing people with a piece of equipment if they can't leave the house safely with it and be driven around and basically therefore enhance their sort of ability to go out and about during their daily living. All SOS equipment has been tested rigorously to meet the standards applicable for equipment for use on transportation by disabled people. This has involved SOS carrying out numerous crash tests on all its seating equipment range to make sure that this equipment passes the crash test criteria for equipment of this nature. Is that all materials used on the equipment are fire retardant. This is very important, and SOS take this very seriously. We always carry out independent tests ourselves on all materials that we use in our manufacturing processes. This ensures SOS that basically we have materials that are suitable for the purpose and ensure the safety of the users of the equipment. SOS are very proficient at assessing extremely complex seating problems, and this enables us to provide a very effective problem-solving service for people with acute seating needs. We're very proud in what we achieve here on a daily basis, and it always gives us a lot of satisfaction to see people's lives enhanced and their quality of life improved. This is the objective of what SOS is all about, and we continue to do this on a daily basis.
As we have more people with disabilities, but also as this whole area becomes more known about and more mainstream, for example, we have now high street retailers selling disability equipment. That's the beginning, and I'm sure once it has that degree of exposure, then companies will be increasingly encouraged to manufacture equipment, seats and mobility aids and all sorts of things that meet the needs of disabled children and adults.
Tomcat is a small but growing company here in Gloucestershire. We design and manufacture innovative products for children with special needs. They include tricycles, chairs, beds, and we export those products all over the world. I've been a professional engineer all my working life, and I came into the healthcare industry purely by chance. I met a boy of 8 years of age with severe learning difficulties, and he didn't understand the difference between night and day, and so as a consequence he wanted his mother's attention in the middle of the night, and that was very difficult for her, and a lot of parents with special needs can relate to that. So she asked me could I help her by designing something that would wear Tom out. And so we came up with the idea of a tricycle, but just a tricycle wouldn't be good enough for him. He needed help with the decision making, steering and braking and that kind of thing. So I designed a tricycle that she could do all of those tricky bits from behind, and it was a great success. And Tom, a little boy who would have difficulty walking more than about 200 yards, was able to cycle for 2 or 3 miles on that first occasion. My ethos for the new company was to give the customer what they actually needed, rather than what as engineers we would like to produce, and they're not necessarily the same thing. From the child's point of view, they want something that is simple and intuitive to use. The skills that they have, they can use on the tricycle to make it move, which is what all children like about a tricycle. From the parent's point of view, it's practicality. How easy is it to move? How heavy is it? That's a massive thing if you're having to move equipment about. And also, how does it impact upon the rest of the family? Each tricycle is custom made for each child, depending upon what their abilities are. We may have to cope with a child with learning difficulties or visual impairment, or they may have mild to severe physical impairment, or it may be a combination of all of those. So the end product is very much designed to accommodate all of those various difficulties the child may have. We also manufacture an innovative chair for children being educated in mainstream schooling. It's intended for children who are either ambulant or semi-ambulant, and usually they will fall into one of two groups, either children with restricted growth conditions or children with balance and coordination problems typified by cerebral palsy. The chair enables the child to use all of the equipment that they would find in an ordinary mainstream school, and that's very important to them, that they're in amongst their friends rather than being segregated from their friends. I'm very familiar with Angelman syndrome because Tom Baker, who was the first child that I built a tricycle for, had that particular syndrome, and so I became known to the group, and since then I've built a lot of tricycles for children with Angelman syndrome.
For the past 13 years, Tom's been riding his Tomcat tricycle. The benefits are many. One of the benefits is that his legs have got a lot stronger, so his mobility has improved. His sleep pattern has improved due to having extra exercise. Obesity is a problem for people, children and adults with learning disability, and so it has kept his weight down, which is a huge advantage for him. We're able to take Thomas out on the tricycle wherever, any outdoor event, put the tricycle in the car and off we go. We're safe, Thomas is safe on the tricycle, and we have a great day out.
Sam has cerebral palsy, which is a tightening of the muscles basically, which means that it's difficult for him to balance. He doesn't sit very well, he can't walk. If he gets nervous or uncomfortable, he tends to tighten up his arms and his legs. It takes an awful lot of concentration for him just to do normal things. So he has special seating at home. He has a power chair, he has a wheelchair. Things are just not easy for Sam. He needs help feeding, he often dribbles. The trike will change our lives completely. To be able to have Sammy on a bicycle and live as normal a life as possible is absolutely fantastic.
What we try and do here at Tomcat is to manufacture a mechanical machine that works in harmony with a biological machine. Of course, we can't change the biological machine in the short term, but we certainly can the mechanical machine, and that's what makes things work.
We hope this programme has been a valuable resource to disabled and elderly individuals, to health and social care professionals and to family carers. I'm Georgina Burnett and you've been watching Advances in Care, a new vision for independent living.